I think the big takeaway from the doctor for me is that the doctor was treating both, and Amber never reported any injuries to him. And he supposedly saw her, 2 days after she had a broken nose and a split lip. I've broken my nose. I played water polo. I've had a split lip. I've had black eyes. Even with makeup, you have swelling and other indicia of injuries. So for somebody to see her just days after that and her not to report it to her private doctor that's on a $1,000 retainer when her job is basically having a face, there's no way. I mean,
yes,
that's like a Marsha moment. If somebody hits you in the face, you're getting that nose reset. You're getting looked at. If you've cut your lip, you're getting looked at by a plastic surgeon so it doesn't heal improperly. And the first person you're calling is your concierge doctor. Even if you lie about how it happened, you're still making that call. So for me, that was kind of the most important testimony. I'm sure the doctors will hit it late, or the lawyers will hit on it later.
Objective evidence of an injury is something that we haven't seen anything of. I mean, they're gonna use the picture, and it's typical lawyering to make it sound like, well, you don't know about the cream and you don't know about the makeup, all the jokes, right? But it's typical lawyering saying, well, she easily could have covered all this up with just some makeup. And in reality, you don't go through life where nobody realizes that you have anything. Yet there are public pictures taken with the bruising showing, but that's the only time it was ever shown. Yeah. And then how the bruises got there, whole other issue to do some kind of clinical correlation like we do in tons of our trials. Just because there's an injury doesn't mean it happened the way that you say it happened. The way that you find that out is you find out when the injury started, when did it happen, when's the first time anybody saw it or reported it, what did you do, what did you report the injury as, what was the treatment post-injury. All that stuff comes into play, and they always need objective findings, right? Like an x-ray or a concussion test, which came back negative, or an MRI. And I don't see any of that. It's all just he said, she said, and we have this picture, and she covered it up with makeup every other time every single person that's going to come testify said, except for her friends who will testify later, I'm sure. So to me, the lack of objective evidence is tough.
There's no way you break your nose.
With the contrast turned up to about 500, that's their picture.
Yeah.
Do we have any resolution on the digital evidence that was the subject of that motion for sanctions?
Not that we've seen. I'll check and see, but
I didn't see anything on the court docket. I really want to know. I'm stuck. I'm like stuck in a loop. I want to know what's happening with that digital evidence, because the nonsense, I want to know if the jury's going to get an instruction about evidence being hidden. But that kind of nonsense with evidence also doesn't go in the court of public opinion. I think doesn't go well for Amber Heard at all. Because if you trust the only evidence you have of these injuries, why aren't you playing games with it? So this is why I hate it.
And these are people, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are people that are photographed routinely, incessantly, to an extensive degree. And that's just what we see. We know there are tons of photographs taken by them that don't ever see the light of day. And the fact that Amber Heard, who, like you said, Emily, this is someone whose face is there living, isn't documenting these injuries for herself, like isn't taking a picture, just a little selfie, got a bruise or whatever, to send to a friend or a doctor or a makeup artist. How do I conceal this? How do I do this? None of that's happening ever. Like not even once.
You've got a split lip. Lips don't heal easily. You've got allegations of a split lip. You don't go see anybody to deal with it. You've gotten a broken nose. The other thing I would think is you would end up talking to your cosmetic dentist. In the times I've been hit in the face, it has chipped my teeth. So, if you've got all these other things that were never done, and it raises a lot of questions when you have access to so much medical care. And it's Los Angeles. It's not like there's not a doctor or a plastic surgeon who would make themselves available to stitch up a lip immediately so it didn't heal badly and leave a permanent scar or leave disfiguration in the lip. So it's hard.
A lip of Johnny Depp's fiance, who also happens to be an actress. Like you're going to get in. You're going to get in.
Well, that's also the point of having the concierge service doctors. They get you in. They make calls to make sure you get in, because they don't do all these specialties.
Yep.
But that's the point of having them. That's what's nice about having them, is you don't have to make your appointment with the plastic surgeon or the dentist or whatever. All those appointments end up on your calendar because you're paying somebody a lot of money to do that.
Chat, I am not a cage fighter. I played water polo at a Division I college, and I played men's water polo in high school. I also broke my nose on a surfboard once. It hurt. Breaking your nose hurts like hell. It hurts so badly. And then having your nose reset hurts. And I grew up in LA where everybody got a nose job when they turned 16, except for me. I got to break my face on a surfboard. So, those things take so long to heal, and they're swollen, and
you get black eyes. Like, it's not just your nose.
It's not just under your nose.
It's all of this. You look terrible. You got snot and shit coming out of your face the whole time. It's blood and mucus because everything gets dislodged.
You don't want to move your face.
Well, and to stabilize it, a lot of times they got to pack it and tape it and all that stuff. I mean, it's completely incredible story.
And also, if you're going to lie about it, maybe other injuries, like an actual bruise to a cheek or something like there's a lot of ways people can be injured. That's not a broken nose. I think that's dramatic. And I think when people think of domestic violence, that's what they think of. But after 10 plus years of being a DA, there's a lot of ways people get injured. And in a lot of DV cases, it's injured where clothing covers it up.
Right. You don't have marks on your arms. You don't have scratches on your arms. You don't have scratches on your face. Like, because even if Johnny Depp's a guy, first of all, I'm not so convinced that Johnny Depp's fingernails are always short because he's kind of eccentric. I'm not thinking he's keeping mechanic cut on those fingernails. So if he's throwing slaps or punching or whatever, very good chance he's going to cut her or scratch her. Even if they're just grabbing, there's going to be some scrapes on her neck, on her chest, on her arms. None of that. You don't have a bruise on a rib cage or anything like that. I mean, there's pretty much one place you can hit someone and not have a visible injury is like the stomach. That's about it, because it just doesn't bruise that much. But anywhere there's a bone underneath, that's going to bruise really quickly, or you're gonna have scrapes and abrasions. I mean, domestic violence issues are not like these clean, like you said, cage fighting punches where it's like, oh yeah, they're picking their shots. These are people brawling and screaming at each other.
And you're getting like the bruising on the arms is the upper arms where people are grabbing each other in the middle of a fight. And you often see scratches with that because somebody's trying to pull away. I don't know. My audience knows how I felt kind of since the beginning of it, but it's, there's a level of believability where you want to listen to what people have to say. But if you're going to file a case in criminal, you have to have corroborating evidence. And so that's kind of always where I come from in looking at things. And I'm like, okay, but where's the rest of it? I hear what you're saying happened, but where is the rest of it? And this case just has so little of that.
Abuse is about power, control, manipulation, and oftentimes physical violence. So if that's it, and she's supposed to be the face of domestic violence, but it turns out that she's just as messed up as him, I think the jury, when you get down to the balance of do they like Johnny or do they like Amber on the stand, I think that's where it could easily tip in his favor, and you could get a victory out of this.
Or she comes out of this as the face of domestic violence because women can be abusive too.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody else, his security, never saw anything. His doctor, he has a private concierge doctor, by the way. Just $100K a month, Ty. Yeah. So he has that private concierge doctor was also Amber Heard's private concierge doctor, and they each had their own nurse practitioner assigned to them who would, like accompany them on vacations or whatever. None of them saw anything. Amber never reported anything to it or whatever. So nobody, it seems, has any record of any abuse. There's just this like one or two stories. Amber Heard her testimony is going to include the time that he broke her nose and split her lip and left a bruise on her face. And then the next day she was on the James Corden show.
With a broken nose, and I guess no sign or any kind of.
Yeah. And the makeup artist apparently maybe testifying for Johnny Depp or has already offered deposition that as doing her makeup, she didn't see any signs of any violence at all. Which, I mean, it seems like you'd probably see like some after effect of a broken nose.
Yeah, I've never broken my nose, but I've known people that did, and those signs are usually pretty visible the day after.
Yeah.
swelling and not,
Black eyes.
Black eyes, yeah.
big red bulb, or
It'd
even
be interesting
yellowy.
to ask her to provide an X-ray showing that her nose had actually been broken. I mean, assuming that her stories, that she's telling lies, I wish Johnny the best, and I applaud him for taking it the distance.
Oh yeah, and Shady Conservative adds, her seeing a doctor 2 days after that broken nose and split lip, and there were no signs of anything at all, is kind of a problem also.
A little bit. You'd expect that to be in the notes.
You'd think.
Yeah.
And as I'm approaching the door, suddenly I'm just getting clobbered from behind, and one's natural primal instinct is to kind of duck and cover. So I ducked and covered, but they didn't stop. So I came up this like this, sort of protecting my face, but at the same time, with her arms swinging wildly, I put my arms out and I was able to get her into a bear hug or something, just to stop her from hitting me anymore. And while holding her in that position, she was still trying to, she had her legs, she could kick, she could knee me. So she was still jumping, kind of very angry, very animated. And yeah, it was unpleasant.
What happened at the end of that situation?
Because of the grabbing of the arms and holding them to her side so that I didn't receive any more blows, and she was still fighting. I believe there was some kind of contact with our heads, our foreheads, as would happen if you're trying to
Happens in the clinch.
calm someone like that. And then
Right before the knee strikes.
that was when she accused me of headbutting her, of giving her a headbutt and breaking her nose. But there was no blood. There was no. I didn't hit her nose. If there was anything at all, it was a bump of. Well, I'm trying to restrain her. She's trying to get out of it. There's going to be some contact here and there, accidental contact, but not a
Left
headbutt.
side of her lip, right
How did
on our
you,
screen, but left for her
escape this
face is
altercation?
droopy. Just the one side. It's weird. Maybe she's having a stroke.
After she'd made the remark about the fact that I headbutted her, which was just impossible. She split. She huffed off. I let her go. She huffed away, and she was gone for about 7 or 8 minutes. And she came back about 7 or 8 minutes later. She had a Kleenex or a tissue to her nose, and she pulled it away from her nose and she showed it to me, and there was red. There was indeed like red color on the tissue, But me, I know that there was no connection to her nose. No part of my body made connection to her nose or eyes or anything like. So she said, she took it away and she showed it to me. She said, "Way to go, Johnny, you broke my nose. You broke my nose."
A dot of red on a Kleenex is not a broken nose, honey.
And I knew I hadn't.
Wait,
So
wait, wait.
I said, you go into sort of placation mode, which is, "Oh my God, let me see. Are you okay? What happened? Let me see." And she wouldn't let me see anything. And so I just tried to calm the situation as best I could. All the while, I was waiting for her to dispense with that Kleenex because I didn't trust it. And
It's
so I
coming.
waited.
It's coming.
And when she dropped it into the wastebasket in her bathroom, or in our bathroom, and left the room, went somewhere
Okay.
downstairs, I think, I don't know. And then pulled the Kleenex out of the trash bin, and I inspected it pretty closely and realized that it was nail polish, nail varnish. Or
The whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it.
It was at this moment that she knew. She fucked up.